Many thanks for staying with us. Let's now tell you that vote counting is underway after the closing of polls in the Liberian general elections as representatives from different political parties observe and tally the votes. More than 2.4 million people were registered to vote in the West African nation, choosing their 73 representatives and 15 senators in addition to the president. The main political parties had pledged that the presidential and legislative elections in the country of about 5 million will pass off peacefully. And at this time, joining me to discuss more on the Liberia election is Samuel James Kpartor, is the National Program Manager Coordinator of the Youth Election Situation Room called LIYOPA, Federation of Liberian Youth. Thank you so much, Samuel, for talking to us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure talking to you, and greetings to everyone there in Nigeria.
So what's your assessment of the situation where you are now? We see that there is a collation of results, and of course, I want to believe that counting is ongoing. What is the update that you'd like to share with us?
Well, principally, the National Elections Commission will be releasing their first sets of preliminary results today by 4 o'clock. That's about 2 hours from now here in Liberia. But for us as young people, we've witnessed one of the most peaceful elections in our country's history. Yesterday, we saw a mammoth turnout of young people to exercise their constitutional right to vote. And we are very, very pleased that the day ended peacefully. Sorting and counting took place at different polling precincts. And right now, coalition is going on at the different magisterial offices, data centers around the country.
Well, it's quite interesting that you said that you witnessed a large participation of the youth in the country, and it probably just shows that people are now being concerned about what Liberia might be in terms of its political climate. Now, of course, another thing that interests me is that of a population of about 5 million, we had 2.4 million who participated. So what's your assessment as regards the involvement of the youth and the number of those who came out to exercise their franchise? What will you attribute this involvement? This, in some quarters, they attribute it to a large involvement in Liberia's political process. What would you attribute it to?
So essentially, in the past, we've just had elections in Liberia, people turning out on elections day to vote. But what happened was earlier this year in February, I had the opportunity to be invited by Connected Development in Nigeria to come and observe the elections in Nigeria. So when I came to Nigeria, I observed that Connected Development had a situation room. So when I came back from Nigeria, I discussed with our leadership here at the Federation of Liberian Youth, which is an umbrella organization for all youth in Liberia, that it would be good for us to set up a situation room that will observe the elections looking at the youth lens from a youth perspective. So we did that. We observed the elections, and out of about 2.4 million Liberians have registered to vote, close to 70% of that number comprised young people. Even though the national elections did not give us the total disaggregated percentage of youth to the total voters population, but we believe, based on what our observers witnessed in the field yesterday, about 80% of persons standing in the queues to cast their ballots yesterday were young people. And we had visible evidence to show that young people turned out. And not just that, Liberia, according to our US report, says its young people are the second most active in the world when it comes to civic political participation. So young people are very active, and through the campaign and in these elections, we could see young people engaging the elections, campaigning, being at the forefront of the different political processes. So essentially, young people were very, very interested in not just the leadership of the country. You had young people vying for different positions. So it was only normal that on elections day, young people turn out in their numbers as they did yesterday in peaceful ways, though there were challenges, but we saw an overall very, very peaceful elections and casting of ballot yesterday. And we are patiently awaiting the official pronouncement of results by the National Elections Commission, which under our law is the only body, clocked with the authority to announce elections results. So young people's willingness to see change, young people's willingness to participate, young people do not want to be observers in these political processes. They want to be the ones at the forefront leading the change that they so want to see. So the decisions that will come out of these elections will be a decision made by the young people, by the young people, and for the young people of Liberia.
So we can safely say that voting went well, and that was also corroborated by the NEC. But then we hear that there might be some sort of extensions in some parts of Sinue and Riverside counties that did not get their ballots on time. So would there be an extension, as we have heard, and how well are we sure that these votes will count?
Well, I might not tell you 100% whether like there will be some sort of extension, but what I do know is according to our law, the polling place opens at 8 and it closes at 6. So even if I think voting started around 3:15 in some parts of Sino and River G counties where it's hard to reach, we believe that there was some sort of consideration done by the National Elections Commission to allow more people based on a limited time to participate in the elections. So in some parts of the country, voting ended at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. In some other parts, it ended at 10. And so counting went on through the night, and early in the morning, we started receiving preliminary results from different polling places. But we still await official announcement from the NEC. Once the National Elections Commission gave their briefing updates to they will adequately inform us whether or not voting was extended in these parts of Liberia where the ballots were hard to reach. But from our LIYOPA situation room, we were able to capture that in these places, voted did not start on time. And once voting commenced, our observers in these places reported to us that indeed voting has started. And if you go on our situation room live monitoring page, LIYOPA, that is being monitored and developed in connection with Connected Development in Nigeria, you can follow the different incidents as they happen across the country and the different issues that were reported, as well as if you follow us on Twitter at Fly Liberia, you can see our preliminary report on our elections observation in these just ended elections.
Samuel, before I let you go, let me just quickly chip this in. Of course, the presidential election was also part of this electoral process, I want to believe. How would you address, or let me say assess rather, the administration of George Weah, that is the current president of the country, and of course his chances of being re-elected?
Well, we saw a very closely fought campaign. We saw the ruling coalition for democratic change very, very aggressive in the campaign, highlighting the president's achievement, amongst which they talk about the free tuition, they talk about roads and many other things, hospitals and other things. But also we saw the fiercest critic, the Unity Party, also on a very, very aggressive campaign, both coming out in numbers during the campaigns to show their support to the different candidates. So we think it is too early to call. We'll wait for the National Elections Commission to bring the preliminary results, but also based on information coming from the field, we see a neck-to-neck battle between these two leading political parties, but we cannot rightly say who is going to take the lead because according to our law, you need a 50% plus one of the total votes to claim victory. So if either of these two political parties are able to claim a 50% plus one of the total votes cast, then they'll be declared the winner by the NEC. But if they're unable, then I foresee a presidential runoff in Liberia for the elections.
And definitely we'll continue to monitor the situation from here. Thank you so much, Samuel, for talking to us.
Definitely. Thank you very much.